Hello, everybody. Welcome along to another Blether. We are frantically getting our guest set to go. Unfortunately, as you all know, sometimes technology doesn't work just as we want it to. So we are waiting for Ben just to log on. But for now, let us know what is in your glass. We are a little bit different tonight. We have got rum as the theme. Although we are on Islay, I know who builds a rum distillery on Islay. But let's ask Ben when he joins in. Fret Not Cat is here. She is interested. She is just in contact with Ben while we catch up on everything.
I'm not just updating my socials. I'm trying to email, trying to email Ben. Hi everyone.
Ben is one of these guys, and I will apologise when he jumps on. I've spelt his name wrong, so we will come to that when Ben's on. So they're over in Feis Ile, the festival. I think they've opened the distillery for visitors. So if you have any questions for Ben, feel free to shoot them through. But as I said, let me know what's in your glass. Tonight I have gone for our little brown dog, Barbados rum. This is the cask strength, not the current wee mongrel. This is a single cask distillery, Foursquare distillery rum that came out, I think, towards the end of last year. So it's a full cask strength rum. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of rums they were going to be getting coming out of Islay. I will say hello. Dave is here. Dominic is on. Yes, Dominic, we had to go and prod the hamster to make sure that he was running hard on the pedal. Highland Hamish is here. These guys are all on YouTube. And we've got Willis and Darren. Good evening to you guys who are watching on Facebook, as well as everyone else. And hopefully, if I click this, we have Ben. Hello.
Hi there.
Oh.
Hi, Ben. How are you?
Hi, guys.
So sorry, I was just going to resend you the link there.
As you realize, Ben's surname is spelled Inglis, not L-E-S.
Well, I saw you'd spelt it wrong when you wrote up who was coming on the show, but I was like, yeah, when you said I haven't got the link, I was like, oh no, you put in the wrong spelling for the email too.
That's all right.
You must get that all the time with your surname. I'm so sorry.
No problem at all.
So it's not Ben Ingles, it's Ben Ingles.
Yes, it's the way I pronounce it. Maybe I've just been pronouncing it wrong all my life.
I think when it's your name, you've got the monopoly of how to pronounce it. I think you're all right.
That's what I'm going with.
Apologies for that. We're just saying hello to everyone. So I've just poured myself a single cask Barbados rum, a little brown dog. Don't know if you've seen there, guys. Hopefully Andrew's watching to see me once again plug in his wee indie bottler there. So one of the questions that I've got for you, you're on Islay and you're making rum. Who makes rum on Islay?
It's I grew up in Islay. I lived here since I was about 5 years old or so. And growing up, when you're kind of get to the age of drinking, around about 13 over here, you don't often go straight onto single malt Scotch whiskey. So I started drinking spiced rums and flavoured rums like that, and then eventually I started. I got given a bottle of Appleton Estate. It was actually, and from there I really started exploring proper aged rums, and then on to unaged rums and more interesting things, the Clarence from Haiti and some of the cachaça from down in Brazil, and it really got more interested in the production side of it and wondered why all these different spirits from various parts of the world all tasted completely different, but yet they were made from sugarcane or molasses or sugarcane juice or something like that. So from then it was really a case of looking into why the rums tasted the way they were, and what would a rum taste like, and what would it be like, really. So about 10 years ago, really started on the journey in this path, I guess, and it took a long time to get to where we are now, meeting the right people and networking, things like that. and then eventually met up with the guys from the Vintage Malt Whiskey Company, who are an independent bottler. They had bought a building, the old lemonade factory that we're located in now, and I had pitched the idea of doing them a few years ago, and they went for the idea, and the rest is history, shall we say. But yeah, it's taken a little while, but we got here in the end.
So how did you learn? How did you learn to distill rum? Did you travel? Did you learn on Islay? Or did you work in distilleries?
So I did a lot of reading and a lot of kind of stuff online. I mean, the internet's a great place for research now, so you can find anything between YouTube, Google Documents, and then all the kind of home distilling forums and all this kind of thing as well. So I met a couple of people on the way who'd give me some really good advice, and then of course, you know, talking to people around Islay, some of the folk who work in the distilleries here, and I went up to Kilhoman for a couple of days just before we actually opened the distillery and got it commissioned, and just kind of had a couple of days experience up there doing really menial things like opening valves and things like that. But it sounds silly, but it's just getting a kind of hands-on feel for it. And yeah, I was there through the whole kind of build of the distillery itself. So I kind of knew where everything was going and the kind of general outlay of the distillery and how things went together. So that gave me a good head start. But the actual rum production side of it myself, I suppose I did a hell of a lot of reading, and mostly reading, to be honest, yeah, about historical texts and then what people are doing in distilleries now. So yeah, it was a lot of research. I never went and visited anything. I'm still planning on going. I'll get out to Jamaica and Barbados yet at some point, but maybe in a little while. I'll hopefully get a business trip out there or something, I think.
Yeah, quite right.
But
that's amazing that you're completely self-taught, though. It just kind of shows you if you put your mind to something, you can achieve anything you want, I guess. Amazing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've done like kind of the GCD course and stuff like that, and a couple other kind of basic courses since we started. So really kind of refine my own knowledge and kind of fill in some of the blanks. When you're kind of teaching yourself, I think you maybe it's the same as maybe when you learn to drive a car. If you're learning by yourself, you pick up some bad habits. So I think, you know, going actually through some proper training helped with like sort of like the maintenance side of things and more of that kind of stuff where you learn in the GCD. So, but yeah, it's always good kind of doing some of these more formal courses if you're getting into it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Did you find when you were putting in the planning, obviously, for building the distillery, because there's obviously a bit of contention on Islay with the locals about all these whiskey distilleries coming up. I can just imagine the kind of council sitting there going through the planning applications. Whiskey distillery. Oh wait, hold on, we've got something right here. It's a rum distillery. So have you felt any pushback when you were building that about the distillery? Did anyone kind of come up and say, "Oh, not another distillery," or have you found it quite refreshing being rum?
Yeah, we were quite lucky. I mean, the building that we're in now was built in 1955 or somewhere thereabouts, and you know, originally it was a soft drinks production place. Built by two local guys who stay on Islay, and the building's been there for an awful long time, and it went through its ups and downs. And when our parent company, when they bought it over, it was in quite a state of disrepair, so it was really needing a lot of work done. And I think people were just really glad to see that it was getting made into something, anything at all, because it's quite an iconic building for Port and for the island, I suppose. And it was just falling apart. You know, it was in really bad shape. So when people now look at it, and you know, it's nice crisp white walls, and it's kind of brought back to its former glory. And we get a lot of the locals in, kind of older generation, saying, "Oh, I used to either work here or I came in to collect stuff," and that's been, you know, really nice. And so for that reason, I think that we you know, we haven't had any pushback at all. Not that anyone's voiced any concerns to myself or online or to the portal and anything that. We're generally, I mean, we had people kind of going in for show of support more than anything, to be honest, which was really good. So yeah, I can't complain at all. We've been really lucky. The locals have been really supportive. The local distilleries as well have been very supportive. You know, anytime we've kind of asked advice or help, they've been they've been really accommodating. So yeah, I can't complain at all. Everything's been great that way.
It's a beautiful building, and we've got Michael Barford, the good old lemonade factory. Back in the old days when everything was black and white, Michael Barford, turning 40 today, he must be feeling it.
I know, he's getting old. God.
Happy birthday, Michael.
Happy birthday, Michael. Raise a glass to you.
We will raise a glass. Do you know what I'm going to raise to you, Michael Barford? I'm going to raise a Kilhoman, and you're still due me 40 quid, all right? So we'll sort that out when you're back.
Yeah. God, I'm miles away from being 40. I'm at least
6 months.
4 months away. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you've got your distillery. Obviously, we probably the guys who are watching much more of the whiskey fan base we have. We know how hard it is to grow barley on Islay. I'm guessing you're not growing sugarcane on Islay. So where is it you're sourcing your sugar from?
So we import molasses. The majority of the molasses we've imported historically has come from India. They're a massive cane growing country. Sorry. So yeah, most of the molasses we've had has come from India. We've had the occasional batch. We actually use 2 different grades of molasses for kind of different marks of rum, different products. So, for instance, our white rum gal, it's made with a kind of lighter molasses. It's higher in sugar, so it ends up producing a bit lighter spirit. Whereas we use for our aged rum, it's a heavier spirit with a kind of lower grade of molasses. So there's not as much sugar in it, but it's lighter really. So most of it comes from India, with the odd batch coming from South America and the kind of southern states of America and places like that. But that's usually what we're up to anyway. But I mean, it's funny as well because I actually have grown sugarcane on Islay.
Oh, really?
In my pot. It was more just an exercise to see if I could do it. So I got a load of sugarcane seeds, and we've got a few polytunnels around my house. So I grew a couple of beds worth of sugarcane, which was quite fun, but it never really amounted to anything. And the stalks were very thin, so they weren't very good for yield of sugar, but at least I've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a wee while off 100% Islay rum then?
I was thinking, unless the global warming kicks in really well, but saying that, the last kind of few days here has been pretty hot, so I don't know, maybe it's the start of it. Should start getting the sugarcane planted this year.
I'm seriously impressed you've got polytunnels. I love a polytunnel. Amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky. My wife's a gardener on the island, so.
Nice. I know the weathers I used to live in the West Coast, and I missed all the stuff I used to be able to grow over there. We're moving back up to the Northeast. It's just cold. It's like half the stuff I had in my garden I can't grow up here.
It's not cold at all.
Yeah.
The winter is cold. Winter is cold.
Winter's cold everywhere.
It's not so bad.
Yeah,
You get nice weather in the West.
We just get loads of wind.
I know. Yeah. It's so funny. Now that I'm back up here, like folk will be like, "Oh my god, it's windy." I'm like, "Are you for real?" I put the washing out in that. It's like, sort yourself out. Like, just double peg it. That's not windy. Unless your dog blows over taking a pee, it's not windy.
Is that the standard, is it?
That's how I measure a wind.
We got Dominic who's watching on YouTube and put a comment up saying, I guess the polytunnels are pretty well tied down. Yeah.
That's true, yeah. It has to be pretty extreme over here.
So apparently we're getting some insider knowledge here. So Michael's saying, grows sugarcane, surfs, and has his own forge. You also have a forge. You have a polytunnel and a forge. I think you might be my spirit animal. This is amazing. What do you make in your forge?
I'm more of an amateur blacksmith than anything. So a lot of the time, one of my kind of favourite quick things to get warmed up is bottle openers. So, you can never have enough bottle openers.
That's true.
To get out as a little gift. But no, I make various things. I do some decorative forgery work. I do some kind of structural handrails and things like that done in the past. Just mostly as a hobby. But done forged a few knives and things like that too, and a couple of tools. So yeah, it's good fun. But I've not been doing a great deal of it. So,
You should give us
fun
a
though.
sideline. Fantastic. I do love a night.
Getting a bit too busy with the distillery now for doing that. Between kids and get out surfing when I can.
Yeah, children occupy a lot of the day. My youngest wants to build a forge in the garden. But yeah, we haven't got around to that yet.
Yeah, done in your spare time, Kat.
Ah,
I know, well, we once let him loose with the mini digger because he wanted to build an outdoor swimming pond, and we kind of forgot he had it. And oh my god, like half the garden was missing. We're like, well done, but let's get that fixed now, will we?
that's a good effort.
It was a good effort. It was. So, how did your opening day at the festival yesterday?
So our festival day was on Tuesday there. So what day are we on? Thursday today, isn't it? Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah. So yeah, Tuesday was the first day that we have had an actual, or the first year, sorry, that we've had an actual day to ourselves, or not to ourselves. We're sharing it with the Freud, but we had a single day rather than last week. We were kind of open all week, so it was very good. We had kind of people in all day. Folk were mixing up cocktails, and we didn't really stop. Ran out of quite a few things, so that's always a good sign, I suppose. Had some live music and some local food there. So the girls who do Orsi Sea Salt were over, and they're doing some rum smoked salmon, or rum cured smoked salmon it was, along with lobster and scallops and things like that. So it went very well. Yep. We launched our new product, which was pretty cool. It's a new spiced rum we've just launched this week. So that was really good. Went down well. Let's say a little bit of a tie to Islay with it's called Islay Rum Peat Smoke. So we actually smoke some of the ingredients over a peat fire before we macerate them with the spirit for 6 weeks. So yeah, a bit little tie back to Islay's roots, really.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I noticed. I was going to ask about the varieties of rum that you have, because on the website there's just is it the Gale that you're calling it, Gale?
Yeah.
It's a white rum. So obviously you just launched that spiced rum. Have you got barrel aged rum coming? Are you going to go down that route?
Yeah. I mean, we started production in January last year, so we've only really been going for 18 months or so. So, just like anything that's going into a cask, it needs its time. And we're really only, I don't know, our oldest spirit's just over a year old probably. So it's still fairly young. But we do have, I'm not sure exactly how much, probably in between 8,000 and 10,000 litres in casks so far. So we're getting a good kind of stock of aged rum, and it's just a case of waiting now, I guess. Constantly filling different barrels as well, which is good. Since we're just kind of starting out, we tried to quite a selection of barrels from ex-bourbon casks, ex-Islay whiskey casks, sherry casks. There's a couple of sherry butts, some port pipes, Madeira casks. So I think we just filled 10 Rioja wine casks as well. So got a fair selection, which should be really exciting for the next kind of few years to see what happens. But no, apart from the two rums that we've got now, the Gale is just our kind of standard white rum. That'll be part of our core range going forward. We've done a few batches. Well, we've bottled a couple of batches of that, and we'll be bottling another batch at some point in the near future, I think. That's
sorry, I was going to say, how do people get that? Is it from the distillery, or are you planning to kind of distribute further afield?
Yeah. So we have done things a little bit backwards. We have kind of got distribution sorted for a few countries before the UK. So you can obviously get it from the distillery, and you can also buy it from our online shop now, which even took us a little while to get sorted up. But we were kind of so focused on getting the distillery running and actually getting production up and running that we didn't forget to do anything else, but it kind of put on the back burner. But now you can get it from the shop, or like I say, our online website. Royal Whiskies takes over stock as well. I'm hoping in the next kind of, 4 weeks, 8 weeks or so, we'll have a distributor sorted for UK. So they'll deal with the sales to small independent shops and bars and restaurants and things like that. But yeah, we did things a little bit backwards when it came to distribution.
I suppose the most important thing is making it, and then you can worry about everything else afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, it's good having like even the online shops. We've got that finally up and running, which is good.
Brilliant. I think you partly answered Dominic's question. I think he was asking about what do you use. Did he ask? About peated? Yeah, peated casks.
Yeah.
I think you were saying you were using quite a few different types of casks from Islay, so I think that probably covers that answer to that question.
Yeah. Do you feel a certain pressure to produce something peated or smoked, or with it being rum, do you feel like it's a clean slate that you can do whatever you want without that?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely do whatever we want, and so far we've been making the gal and we've been various casks. The Islay whiskey casks are a small kind of end of what we have filled. But I think people like peated stuff from Islay. So for me, we have put the spirit in peated casks and the ex-Islay whiskey casks, because I think there's a few places around the world who are maybe only really interested in peated things from Islay. So trying to kind of break into a few different markets and demographics, looking for the right market for our rum. So hopefully we can open the door with maybe a peated product and then get them hooked on our rum and trying the rest of the range that way. But it was also quite a fun thing to do for us to kind of try and incorporate a little bit of smoke into the spice rum as well. And we don't want to be overpowering with the amount of smoke we put in there. We put in there kind of a hint in the background that it works well because mixed drinks as well. So it's gone pretty well. But our main kind of core of what we do, it won't really be in that sort of thing. It's just as well, I feel like.
Right, yeah, that's good. We've got Dominic here. I mean, I'm just thinking that it would be it's almost daft not to have something for the peated fan there, the smoky fan. And you're right across the road from Port Ellen's new distillery as well, aren't you? There. So hopefully, when that is up and running, that's another kind of catchment for you when people are visiting, because I dare say that's going to bring in a swarm of visitors as well, and you can maybe they'll piggyback off of you opening more about it.
Is there going to be a visitor centre at the distillery?
So at some point in the future, we'd like to have a visitor centre. We've only got the distillery building, and it's quite tight for space in there when we've actually got production up and running. So we are building a small warehouse at the back of the property, and incorporated into that will hopefully be a very small shop and visitor centre. But we need to go back to planning permission and things like that once we've got the building up to see if we can get change of use for it. Just kind of course, everything's fairly awkward when it comes to planning. It's never easy getting anything through and sorted. So we'll probably be a little while before we actually have a dedicated visitor centre, but it's just the way it is. But hopefully at some point in the future we will, because it can be. I'm looking forward to eventually when we do get some aged products out there, and maybe doing a little warehouse tasting and showing people the production process. So at some point in the future.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Is it? I forgot what I was going to ask you there. Willis is confused. Throw me off track with his asking about the festival.
He really wants to know. We really should answer that question. He really wants to know what happens at the festival.
yeah, just calm your horses, Willis. I've got one question, then we'll get on to you. I was going to just ask about the team you've got at the distillery, Ben. What size? Who have you got working for you? Different roles.
So we wear many hats at the distillery. So there's myself and there's my colleague Johnny, and there's literally just the two of us at the distillery itself. So we operate 5 days a week, and we distill. We do just a day shift 5 days a week. So we're in at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we usually knock off at 5 o'clock in the evening. And we're distilling. We kind of schedule for the days. We get in the morning, get the wash into the still, get it going, distilling, and then in the afternoon, as we're pumping the pot ale out, we heat up some water through a heat exchanger for the next fermentation to set off that evening. So distilling throughout the day and then putting fermentation on in the evening. But just we have got back office support, so a kind of bigger team out based in Mulgai, and they deal with a lot of the distribution, getting things into casks and bottling and everything like that. So I mainly deal with just small team, just to do.
We
Broke up just at the end there, then. But I'm getting, you just said small team, but everyone kind of mucks in, I think is what we got at the end there.
Yeah. The kind of gist of
you need to go and put another token in your internet meter.
It's
usually my internet that fails, so I'm glad it's not just mine.
I know, like 8:30 on the button that is switched off.
I know, they just turned the internet off at Aberdeenshire at 8:30. That's it, we're done.
So Willis, we'll come back to you. Apologies, I had to ask the question while I remembered it. Otherwise, I would never have asked it. It would have gone well off on another tangent. Willis is watching on Facebook. He's asking if you could tell us about the festival, what's involved and what happens. So if you can give us information, and primarily what you guys do, but also what else is involved.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So just as a general overall summary, I suppose, there's, of course, the festival runs from last Friday until this Saturday. So it's 8 in total, with the opening of the Feis is on the Friday, and they've usually got a bit of a ceilidh and an event down in Port Ellen where they've got Highland dancing and music, live music, things like that. And some stuff usually out for the kids to play on. They've got bounce castles and that kind of thing. And then it just sets off day by day. Everyone either has their own open day, or most people are having to share with someone else now. So there's so much going on between the whiskey distilleries open days, but then you've obviously got gins. There's 3 gins on Islay, 1 on Jura. You've got another group on Jura playing some rum. You've got the beer from Jura, the beer from Islay. So there's just all sorts of booze, but there's also a lot of kind of nice evening events where they're doing more little kind of ceilidhs where they've got live music events and things like that. And there's constant kind of boat tours going around the island. Independent bottling festival where they have tasting by all the independent bottlers in the Ramsey Hall, which runs from 10 in the morning till 9 at night, I think, over 3 sessions. And then you just got the chaos of everyone being on Islay all at once. It's really good fun. But for our day in particular, it wasn't anything too outlandish. We have an Airstream kind of mobile bar set up on site, so we kind of run tours throughout the day, and a lot of cocktails, lots and lots of cocktails. And like I mentioned earlier, some live music and some food, local food from one of the local producers. But it's lots of drinking, lots of music, lots of dancing. It's kind of the general summary, I suppose. And then, of course, all the distilleries usually have various distillery festivals, which you always get the whiskey hunters going and seeing what they can get their hands on, which is amusing when you're seeing people queuing up overnight and things like that at times before.
Do they actually?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was last year. I think people camped out overnight to try and get a ticket for Bowmore Distillery's festival release, and that was just to get a ticket to buy it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it wasn't so much this year enough, but it's been pretty crazy before. People camping out outside Bowmore Distillery with their tents and guitars and lots of drams.
My gosh.
It sounds. I mean, you've got to, I suppose, buy into that, and you go there knowing that everywhere is going to be jam packed, don't you? Don't go if you're claustrophobic or have a fear of people.
Yeah, exactly.
I think people forget that there is a festival over and above whiskey as well. Certainly from our side of the industry, because there's so much music and kind of local things going on as well, isn't it? It's not just about drink.
No, that's it. Yeah, I mean, originally, yeah, it wasn't even about the whiskey initially. The festival was about Feis Ile initially, and do you know what? They've actually taken that back a little bit this year. So, I mean, after we opened back up from COVID, there seemed to be more of an emphasis on just having a festival of Islay rather than it just being all about the whiskey. And of course, you know, people always come for the whiskey over the Feis, and the distilleries will always release the bottles. But it's been nice to see a little bit more involved with family activities. And I've got 2 young kids myself, so you know, they're getting to go out and play on the rides and things like that they've got in the opening and things was nice. So yeah, it's very nice. The last couple of years have been really good. It's been a lot more family oriented, as well as the whiskey and
I was gutted to miss it this year. My favourite band was playing over at, I can't remember what distillery it was now, but yeah, that would have been great fun to go over and see them, especially with that weather you guys got this week. It was great.
It's been ridiculously warm. I think it's been about 24 degrees the other day when I saw in the car, which is pretty tropical for here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Hopefully it lasts for the summer.
He worked in Africa, sorry. He used to pay somebody to queue for him on occasion. There could be a job opportunity there. I'm pretty sure there is. I'm sure that happens.
Dominic, we're seeing a whole different side to you tonight, honestly. And as for what's in my mug, it's just tea, Dominic. It's not gin, but I do have my Cohoman for in between.
In between
cups. The whiskey shelf is, we're not talking about that tonight either, but one of these days I'm going to surprise you with a brand new whiskey shelf. Just you wait.
So yeah, you guys whiskey drinkers, obviously whiskey mostly, I imagine.
I do love a rum. I started my drinking on rum. We call it rum, but Morgan Spiced was my kind of bar drink when I was starting off the journey. And then kind of got into whiskey and completely forgot about rum. I kind of drank myself silly of it and too sweet, too sickly for a long time. Yeah. And it wasn't until through whiskey I started to kind of go back to, albeit probably sweeter, maybe not spiced rums, but sweeter rums, your Diplomatico and Dictador, these kind of rums that were sherry cast but heavily sweetened. And that kind of opened the door back. And now I'm pretty keen on certainly kind of the barrel age, the cask age stuff. Yeah, and rum that you can sit and sip rather than no Coke or whatever into it.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Sorry, again. Sorry, it's. Yeah,
there's a slight delay on the between our screens. I think it's because you're so far away. That's what it is. It's almost like a Eurovision, that sort of delay of, oh no, he started talking. Oh no, we're talking about you.
No, it's okay. Our internet's been pretty.
I know. Like, well, I don't know. The West, when I lived in the West Coast, it was the best internet I had out of everywhere. Now I live in like the oil capital of Europe, and it's like wind up internet up here. It's ridiculous. But yeah, there seems to be a slight delay between the internet. So if we do talk over you, it's not because we're rude. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I was going to say my rum journey hasn't really started yet. I'm not sure what sort of rum I like. I don't have a sweet tooth, so. Oh, Mike's fading out as well. Oh my god! Like seriously, between the three of us, do you think we could maybe get a good internet?
It's my turn to go there. So if we've done the rant on the internet, I we're on to the next subject. Is that okay?
I know. I think somebody was asking about the house style of your rum. So we were talking about rum anyway, so let's get back onto that. Was it Dominic that asked about the house style of the rum?
No. It's Mike's dropping it.
So he's asking your house style.
Mike, your whole face is frozen. No, I think he's actually just gone. It's an actual disaster. Well, I'll ask you about your house style, Ben, of the rum. I'll let you answer that.
Right. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think all distilleries, whether it's whiskey or rum, usually, like you say, have a kind of house flavour, a house style they go for. Our rum is inspired by Jamaica, Barbados, with a double retort. It's the kind of rums I've always liked. Jamaica being a little bit, Jamaica being a lot more funky than kind of anywhere else in the world, I suppose. But we've worked with a few different things. Our standard spirit we're hoping is interesting enough to keep people engaged, and it's a little bit more than your Bacardis and everything like that, but it's not crazy funky. Whereas we do have some kind of projects on the go, long fermentations where we're using dunder, we're using the buck. So got to, I don't know if we've really discovered our house style as of yet. I guess we're working on a few different marks, from kind of the lighter style all the way up to trying to get a bit more funkiness and heavier spirit in there as well. But yeah, it's take a bit of time, I guess, for that kind of flavour to naturally come through. We were actually having a discussion with guys today. Sometimes it can take years for that to kind of show itself from just natural kind of bacterias and yeasts and things like that are present in the distillery. So yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see where we are in a few years.
So I was reading about rum the other night because I work obviously in a whiskey distillery. Making rum is very, very different. So there's lots of words that I was not sure about. So to do with, so you use the pot ale to start off the fermentation. Is that to do with creating, what does that do? Does it create more esters? Does it do with bacteria? How's that beneficial? What does it do to your spirit?
There's a few different reasons. Like initially, dunder or pot ale. So dunder in the rum world, or pot ale in the whiskey world, I guess, was used to kind of lower the pH, so bacteria couldn't survive. So that is one of the reasons they thought they used it initially. So when you've got a low pH, bacteria can't really thrive in that environment, but yeast can still work away. So people used to think that's why you would add dunder to the wash, was to kind of lower the pH, but it also enhances the kind of flavour. You've got residual sugars left over from the previous wash. You've got a lot of dead yeast cells and things like that, that are a good nitrogen source for the next fermentation. So it helps kind of improve. It's almost like a natural yeast nutrient. But yeah, it's kind of known for, I suppose, for a particular kind of flavour and style, I guess. So it definitely helps kind of with the body of the rum and give it a little bit more depth as well. But I mean, not all of our... No, carry on.
No, I was going to say, dunder, is that something specific to Jamaica, or do most world distilleries do that in rum making?
No, it's something that's quite specific to rum, to Jamaica. There is other places around the world, like especially in newer distilleries that are popping up. More and more of them are starting to experiment with thunder. But like, for example, I don't think in Barbados that you use, it was pretty much every state in Jamaica used thunder. So yeah, it kind of, the natural use it. And I mean, there's plenty of other things that they get up to in these as well, from like cane vinegar and like you say, the muck pits, which are more kind of localized to Jamaica. So yeah, there'll be quite a few words that you don't recognize from whiskey to rum.
There was, like, twin retort. You're going to have to explain that to me. High wines, you're also going to have to explain that to me. Like, I'm ready.
Yeah, so if you imagine likes of you've seen the still, so the pot is so obviously you've got the pot still looks very similar to any kind of still that you might see in whiskey, but the retorts are the two chambers after the pot still, and they kind of work as almost like plates in a column still. But each time you have the vapor traveling over into one of the retorts, it bubbles up through the low wines. So in the first retort, you put the low wines, and the vapor bubbles through the low wines, and heats that low wines up until they eventually begin to evaporate as well. And as that's happening, you're kind of enriching the initial vapor with the spirit from the low wines, and it carries over into the high wines, where the same thing happens again. So it's almost like you're getting 3 small distillations in a single pass of the still. But the kind of idea was to make rum production more efficient than what they were doing in Scotland. This was 200-300 years ago. So the way they would do that is with the pot and double retort. So you're only heating up one set of liquids, being the wash and then low and high wines. But yeah, the low and high wines, I suppose, to explain that to you, is it's just like the faints from a spring whiskey. So if you think when you come off hearts and you go into faints and whiskey, and then those faints, you usually add them back into the spirit still for the next run. So rather than adding them into the pot for the next run, we add those faints into the retorts, but we just split them into low and high wines. So
Okay.
the way that it works is you have the vapor coming up out of the still, and you're trying to kind of match that alcoholic strength of the vapor in the first retort, and then the same goes again with the second retort. So it's gaining strength every time it leaves one of these chambers. It means we end up with a spirit that's around about 86% for our heart's cut as well, so it's quite strong.
Okay, that is very different then.
I find it difficult to explain props in front of me.
I'll have to just come and have a look, and you can talk me through it.
Yeah, absolutely, anytime.
We'll maybe do one live from the distillery next time, so we are actually in this distillery and you can talk everyone through it. That'd be
good. Then use my rubbish internet at the distillery.
It was me that got kicked out, so you guys haven't been kicked out yet, so you're doing well.
Oh, it's not 8:30 yet. I'll be out at 8:30. Just wait. I think. Oh no, sorry, Carol, Mike.
Ask Ben, are you fully focused on rum, or is there something in the back of your head thinking, why don't we do a whiskey? Why don't we do a gin, vodka, whatever?
I mean, initially at the very start, we had toyed with the idea about possibly doing gin in the still, and the still is actually in the neck of the still. There's actually a bar to hang a botanical basket, but it's not really something that I want to do. But necessarily, it wasn't my focus. It wasn't my passion to do gin. But it was more. If we had to have a kind of supplementary product to go along with the rum, then we would maybe have the option of doing that. But there's so much we can do with rum itself, from different types of spirit we can make through fermentations, and different types of fermentations through to what casks we're going to use at the end when we're putting it in casks. So I think we're kind of fully occupied with just rum at the moment, at least, and we don't have any foreseeable future, not that I know of anyway, unless someone's going to spring something on me from above my head.
Rum is such an open category, isn't it? There's so many ways of making a rum or a style of rum. Your cachaças and agricole and spice rums. We're now seeing a lot of botanical rums coming on. I think that was one of Dominic's questions. I don't know if you guys covered it while I was offline. He was asking about making something with local botanicals in the rum as your spices. Because we know botanists, they go on about their Islay botanicals. Is there any of that would infuse into rum? Because I know kind of spices is one thing, botanicals another. We're seeing a lot of botanical rums coming out. And my idea is that they're kind of just grabbing that from the gin trade because people now know what botanicals are, and they're using that instead of spices. Or do you see a difference in what is botanical and the spices?
I mean, obviously, gin's not necessarily my speciality, so I'm not sure if I'm qualified to comment on the whole spice argument, I guess. But I don't know. I think a botanical rum maybe a little bit of I don't know what you would call it, hot topic or a kind of grab word, if you like. So people know gin, and for a long time, people were really enjoying gin. And they still are, obviously, but it was really booming. And I think almost to grab some of that light from gin and turn it onto rum with the use of these kind of keywords was maybe a good marketing idea. I'm not sure if we would. I'm not sure if we necessarily do or call anything a botanical rum. There's definitely things around Islay. The botanicals are fruits and flowers and things like that we could possibly incorporate into our spirit, into our rum in the future. It's not. I'm not going to lie. It's not something we've really looked heavily into at this point. Like for me, I would be more interested in taking some wild yeast swabs from local things and seeing if we can get fermentation going through wild yeast that's located around Islay. More go down that line than the kind of the flavouring and spicing of spirit with the local things.
Plant your sugar cane again and get some wild yeast off of that. Go on.
Do you know?
School genuine.
Yeah. Someone had after I actually had grown it and got rid of it, we cut it down and kind of cleared the bed and everything like that. I was talking to someone and they're like, "Oh, did you not keep some to do that with?" And I was like, "Man, I'm so daft. I didn't even think." And it's been so easy to do at the time as well. But I might still do it again. I was thinking about trying to get another batch off the ground at some point. So maybe next year, when we come into the kind of autumn time, I can plant up some more and see if we can get something growing.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I thought we'd lost you there for a second. Mike, wait, are you sitting still? No, you are there.
I'm still here. I'm still here, yeah.
Just make movements every now and again, just so we know that we're actually still alive.
You were talking right at the start about vintage malts. And Ben's asking, did they ever ask about making peated whiskey? Their big products being Finlangan.
When at the very start, when Vintage Malt had initially bought the building, they had thought about doing whiskey, and they'd seen about the possibility of maybe doing whiskey, but the site is fairly small, and you could probably do it, but the focus was, I moved the focus onto rum, and they've not been, they're quite happy with the spirit we're putting out and the products we're making, so they haven't really been pushing for any kind of malt whiskey or anything like that. I'm sure you could run it on the double retort as well, maybe make some really interesting spirit. So I don't know, never say never, I guess, but it's not something we've got in the cards for the kind of nearby future, at least.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure. So I just kind of came back in on that talking about the double retorts. Is that kind of a reflux kind of chamber, is it, or is it?
Yeah. So the double retorts are just if you explain to people who know whiskey, the main pot of our still works as like our wash still, and then the two retorts almost act like a spirit still. So, but it's rather than having two sets of moving, it goes in one continuous distillation, or one single run, if you like. The whole kind of process happens in that single run.
So I guess if you were to do a whiskey through that, it would have to be classed as a single grain whiskey.
I guess so. I mean, it wouldn't be continuous; it's still batch, but I'm not sure if we'd probably have to double distill it, as in like we'd probably have to distill the wash off, take all the spirit that we got, and then put it back into the pot to be run again, possibly. I mean, Mount Gay distillery, they do that with rum in their double retort, so it's not like it's not done that way. But I think if we were to make Scotch whiskey, you would have to kind of double distill it in that kind of fashion. So you would maybe end up with I don't even know what you would end up with.
Interesting. Yeah. I like this level of geekery where you can just kind of think, well, what if we do it? You've obviously got the stills there, so you nip along to the Maltons along the road for you, say, go and just give us a wee bag of malt, and we want to see what we can do with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a mash tun though, so we'd need to figure something out there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You have to go and chap next door and just say, "Can I have a shot of that, please?"
Maybe poor Ellen would help us out, mash in for us, and they could just send it across in a few IBCs.
There you go. The sky's the limit. Absolutely.
I saw on your website that you found the old lemonade bottles from the factory. Did you never fancy fashioning your rum bottles around, the original design of the lemonade, or was it just not viable?
Probably wouldn't say too much on that. It could be something in the future.
Oh, okay. Spoiler. Sorry.
I'm not. We've talked a little bit about it. We've not really, the thing with glasses, the molds and things like that for new glass bottles are pretty fierce in the price of them. So I don't know, it's an expensive thing to do, but we've looked at the old bottles and they're quite charming in their own way, the way they're made. So it would be pretty cool to do something, and it's something that's come up in conversation a few times. So, like you say, never say never.
Lovely. It's like back in the day, if you could take your glass bottle back, wouldn't you, and get your 20p back? So take your rum bottle back to the distillery, get your 20p back. Yeah, just like a bottle return scheme, Mike. What's your opinion on a bottle return?
How cool would that be if that worked?
Well, yeah, we won't bring that up.
Yeah, let's quickly bypass the shambolic return scheme.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with your recipe? I read that the whole recipe for the rum was your dream. So was that just from your reading, just from trying different rums, just experimentation?
Yeah, I mean, it took us about for the Gal, the white rum, it took us about 4 or 5 months, continuously trying test batches, different yeast, different molasses, different ratios of molasses, using dunder, no dunder. So it took us a good few months to kind of come up with a recipe that we were happy with, until I was happy with it. And then we still found very slight differences between the first batch of the Gal we released and the second batch, and I can only put that down to kind of the still bedding in over those few months as well. So yeah, it was really just a trial and error to a certain extent. Obviously, I'd read, done a lot of reading, and I'd done test fermentations and stuff like that even before we'd got the still up and running. So I kind of knew what I was doing for the most part from the very beginning. But it took a little bit of time to kind of fine tune the recipe, if you like. Thanks. So yeah, it took a little bit of time to fine tune the recipe and really get it to something I was happy with. And I think even it's probably the second batch, I dare say, even better than the first one, just from that little bit of extra time the stills had to kind of, like you say, on the team, probably add to the depth of the flavour of the spirit. But yeah, lots of reading, lots of YouTube videos, lots of Google documents.
That's cool.
It's extraordinary just that you've just decided, right, I'm gonna learn this and do it. It's brilliant.
There's no excuse why I've been learning that years ago.
I know. I don't think I've got the focus to do that. I like to have several plates spinning at a time, and to fully focus on one plate for me is just not what I do. To be honest, I'd rather do 20 things not quite as good than one thing really, really good. No, that's my style.
I still think I'm studying every day. Every day we go in, we're picking up something new, whether that's something practical about the process we're doing, or it's something, I'm picking up through, constantly kind of reading about information about the whole process and about the history of it and the chemistry and things like that as well. So you're working out, and now and again you come up with something that's like, I've reread something a few times and it's only really sunk in. This I've read it, I'm like, kind of breakthrough moment. I now know why. So, but yeah, it's I would definitely still say maybe like a bit of a scatterbrain, because I can walk into the distillery, look at something and be like, okay, we need to do that this morning, and then I'll walk through to the office and be like, oh, there's this thing I haven't done. So I kind of jump about from job to job a lot.
And it must be hard with such a small team. Do you do like all the sort of social media and sort of marketing side of things as well, or do you just solely on production?
I'll put stuff on the social media, but him, who's a social media lady who does a lot of the social media stuff for Vintage Malt, and she also puts things on for Islay Rum as well. So she's great. She kind of keeps things up to date, and if I share anything personally in my own personal page, if you like, she'll reshare it on the business page, so to see what we've been up to for the day or anything like that. So I'm quite lucky. I don't need to have too much stress with keep up with the social media side of it as well. That's another beast entirely.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's something that you just got to keep at, don't you, to beat all the algorithms to make sure you're out there. I don't know what Dominic's going on about tonight. He's fairly on a roll. We're going to have to go right.
I've done something. I'm not sure if it's a roll.
I don't even know where to start with all those comments. We're going to go right up to the top. Something to do with playing music to casks, I think. But
So for guys who are watching on Facebook, we also go live on YouTube. So Dominic's watching on YouTube, and he is decided. Well, this is a thing actually, and it has happened in America where
they play Metallica to bourbon.
They got massive subwoofers in their warehouse and blasted out tunes, and the idea was that the reverberation from the woofer would agitate the spirit and heighten the maturation, the interaction with the wood. But Dominic is now touting Mozart matured single cask or reggae matured rum, playing live music of certain ilk in the warehouses. I think it's being done as a marketing ploy. I'm not sure what actual impact the level or the style of music would have on rum or whiskey.
Maybe Ben can bring that up in the Monday morning meeting and see how it goes with the production team. Or
not sure if I would approve of that.
I guess it's probably have more of an impact on the production team, what kind of music you're playing. If you're playing Mozart and the guys are a bit more into their heavy metal or their Celtalica kind of stuff, they maybe not be working quite so hard.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to ask you about... Oh, no, sorry, Carol.
No.
I was going to move away from the playing the music to casks. Great idea, Dominic. I know you've got polytunnels as well, so I feel like you could be growing sugarcane and trying this at home, Dominic. You definitely give that a go. I was going to ask about the fact that you're 100% renewable energy as well. Is that something that when you set out on this journey you wanted to do from the start?
Yeah, I mean, the team that we work with and the guys at Vintage Malt were quite strong feelings about being renewable and just trying to lessen our impact environmentally. So, for instance, even silly things like the packaging we package our bottles up in, they're all recycled cardboard and things like that. But the distillery runs off of 100% renewable energy from our energy provider, and it's an electric steam generator as well. So we don't use any heavy oils or kerosene diesel mix or anything like that for a boiler. Hopefully, in the kind of near future, when we put the new warehouse up, we'll have solar panels all over the roof of that as well to kind of help along with the electricity use. But it's challenging in its own rights. The electric boiler is quite expensive to run. And especially with the kind of price increases we've seen in electricity. So it's just one of these things you kind of have to take into account with your when you're pricing your product as well. But I think it's worth it for us to kind of have that reassurance that we're doing what we can, at least in the production side of things, to lessen our environmental footprint. But it's something we thought of from the very start. And not only that, you've got in the near future, I would imagine maybe in the 10-20 years, distilleries are probably going to have to go away from fuel oil or oil together and maybe move along to natural gas or possibly even hydrogen gas or something like that. But but having just gone with biomass. But even that comes with its own kind of, is it that green or not? But we were getting ahead of the curve, I would like to think. So it's good not having to work with a really messy boiler as well. It's pretty clean to kind of service and things. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's going, and glad that we took the decision to do that now, especially rather than having to kind of retrofit something in the future.
I know that's the problem for the older distilleries, isn't it? Having to get on the sustainability journey, they've got to deal with these really old buildings and that were maybe not designed for it. At least you can start from scratch. You can maybe do it the right way, the first way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Something that always maybe not confused me, but you've got these listed distilleries or buildings that you can't change, but then people want this renewable energy or sustainability kind of implementation, and it's like, well, how can I change a 200-300-year-old building, but to do this without changing the actual building? It's a double-edged sword for a lot of these guys, and they're really having to work hard at it.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's. I mean, not only that, like, we are lucky enough for the size of us, we are able to use electric steam generation, but to be honest, yeah, it wouldn't be feasible for any other distillery on Islay. They're just too big. They just need too much heat really to heat the stills. So I mean, we're fortunate in that way. I don't know. I'm not really sure which way we would go if we were bigger. Probably natural gas or something like that. I actually think that's what the new Port Natruan is going to be running on is gas as well. So I've heard. So yeah, I think that's probably going to be the future for a little while at least.
Yeah, I mean, there's a load of things to think about, isn't it? It's not just let's build a distillery. You really need to think about these kind of things as well. It's obviously very important. We joked about the global warming, growing sugar on Islay, but I think a lot of guys, especially in the industry, it's something that's here, it's something that's happening now, and we need to kind of react to it.
Yeah, it's even like that's one of the reasons why we chose not to do any bottling on Islay as well. For one, we don't necessarily have the space on the site, but to sending all the dry goods and things like that over to Islay just to send it back out again. That's all road freight and things like that coming over. So it was again another kind of decision that took that kind of environmental factor into mind anyway.
Sorry, 2 seconds. I'll be back. No, I can hear my son at the door, and he can't get in, so I think I've left the key in the door on the other side. Give me 2 seconds.
Brilliant. That's what we have, making sure you get peace to do the Blether. Just lock the kids out. So did I pick you up right at the start, Ben? You said you're born and bred in Islay. You've been there.
No, almost. I've been here since I was about 5, so I've spent most of my life here. I mean, I've island top before that. I was on Jura before here and Ling before that. So I kind of moved around the West Coast Islands a little bit. But yeah, I mean, consider myself a local.
A day of 5 years old. Nobody really would know that you're not. You're not
Exactly. Oh, they're all right.
Right. So how do you know Michael Barford then? So Michael works up in our neck of the woods with Kat at Glengarry. How do you know Michael?
So Michael was he lives just literally a stone's throw, or he lived over on Islay, a stone's throw away from where the distillery is. He was in a couple of years above me in school as well. My older brother and him used to know each other quite well and that. So, and then as soon as you get into the kind of alcohol industry and you get chatting with folk and through that way, when he'd moved away and we talked about, I told him about setting up the rum distillery and things. So kind of got chatting, have a Blether now and again about that. But yeah, so you know everyone. You don't, at least somehow.
Yeah. Somebody always knows somebody. Is it? I remember somebody saying, I can't remember the exact figure, but everyone's only 20 people away from knowing the president of the USA or something like that. How small the world is.
That's right.
Did you manage to let the kids in?
Yes, I did. So I had left the key in the door. Wait, who lived on Ling? You lived on Ling? Who lived on Ling?
Yeah, for a little while, yeah.
Did you actually?
Yeah, when I was...
I lived on Ling. When did you live on Ling?
Oh,
I'm going for 2 minutes and we've missed this chat.
Probably about 28 years ago.
28 years ago.
I must have been somewhere around there. Yeah,
okay,
I was only... Yeah, I was very, very small, and we didn't stay there very long. We were only online for maybe a year or something like that, I think.
Where were you online?
Do you know what? I was so wee, I can't even remember where exactly. I remember vague memories of going down to the pier and picking up prawns. That's kind of my extent of my memories of Ling. But yeah, I can't remember now, to be honest.
That's cool. I'm a bit of a fan of Ling. It's a lovely little place. So we lived there. We used to work for the farm throughout the estate on Ling for quite a long time. So we just lived down the farm, just up from the village that you probably went to go and get the prawns down at Toberonnachie. It's one of my favourite places in the world. And if I can shoehorn it into conversation at any point, I will.
Yeah, it's somewhere I want to go back and take the wife and kids there to kind of have a look around it and see if I can remember where our old house was. So it'd be nice to do it at some point. It's not too far away.
It's not at all, but the amount of people from like the West Coast who've never heard of it, not mentioning any names, Mr. Barford, but most people have they've all heard of Easdale, but nobody's ever heard of Ling. But it's such a little hidden gem. They've got some great glamping pods and things now, so for the kids and that. And great for fishing as well. Like we used to like to jump in the boat after school and just go like pull up mackerel and put out krill pots, and such a fab part of the world. Anyway, sorry.
How big is Ling?
How big? It's like 4 miles long with 150 people.
Very small.
Yes, it is very, very small. A lot of them are old people too, so it's. But it's the thing with little islands, like people buy the houses up as second homes, and then, like there's no houses for the young folk to come back, and then the school closes down, the shop closes down. So it's just a catch-22 with islands, I'm afraid. It's a shame. When we left, the school closed down, but I was populating a third of the school with all my children. I'm like literally the old woman that lives in a shoe. So it's a shame. So all the kids have to go off island and onto Easdale to go to school. But yeah, you know what like islands are. It's difficult to get people to stay. The good lifers come over and they pick up firewood off the driftwood off the beach, and they make pots and they wear hemp clothing, and then they get one winter and then they leave. So that's island life. Hashtag no judgment.
Yeah, you just done a little lifestyle rant here, Kat. It's all right.
It's fine. I mean, if that's how you want to live, great. That's fine. That is fine. Anyway, sorry. I was just really excited. I came back and I saw the word Ling and I was honed into it. So.
Yeah,
the joke of, are you sure it wasn't linguistines that you were picking out rather than prawns? But I think it's kind of lost there.
Oh.
Missed the opportunity.
Yeah.
I know. Kat went off on a rant and I felt really bad interrupting her for such a bad joke.
I know. Well, it was worth it. It was worth it. That's the other thing, though. Like Longestines, like West Coast are great, and then you move back up here, and my kids are like, "Can I have prawns for supper at the restaurant?" And you get little wee pink squishy things, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" But yeah,
it's not a prawn unless you decapitating it before you can eat.
I know, unless it's got its face on and staring you down, it's not a prawn. But anyway, sorry, I could like rant about. Moving on, we'll do a whole blether just about Kat's opinion on Ling.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll get we'll get all the locals involved, and we'll have 4 people on the chat, and it'll be great.
And they'll all be related.
Do they have the internet on Ling?
Did they have the internet on Ling? They had the best internet I've had on Ling. The internet was so good on Ling, it was ridiculous. Much better than up here. I don't even know how that's possible.
Oh, well.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah,
not there.
We're going to bring a couple of things back in. Were you looking at YouTube there, Katar?
Yeah, I was just going to say we've got a hello from Canada.
Mm-hmm. From Rum Revelations. So, then you're amazing. Well, we've been talking to you for an hour and 10 minutes, and we agree. Working on many different things and suspecting a lot of amazing rum will come out of that little distillery in the next few years. So, awesome.
You've got a global following already. That's fantastic. Amazing. Do you get a lot of visitors from overseas who just come to look you guys out because they've heard of you, or?
Well, the kind of the good to do for myself would be go and check out Rum Revelation. He does a lot of really good reviews, so I'll plug his blog and site now. So yeah, check it out. It's really good.
We will have a look.
Awesome. So it's Rum Revelations. So the guys on Facebook, I don't think they get to see the comment we put up, but Rum Revelations is a rum blogger from Canada.
Yeah, right.
So good stuff. So check them out. There was somebody else. We get quite a few. I got a connection through one of our local. I don't know if you know Jim Ashley from Outlaw Rum. He imports Trinidad rum and matures it in Scottish casks or whiskey casks.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic Islay cask as well. But he got me in touch, and I'm going to look up the guy. So they do a round table, I think it's called, where they invite a rum producer. I'm not sure if you've heard of these guys. They invite a rum producer on to do a kind of guest talk. So if you're interested, I could get you in a contact for them if you don't already have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than happy.
I'll find it and send it through to you now that I've got your correct email with correct spelling.
Yeah, right, that's all right.
Do you know what? It's easily done.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many people with emails bouncing, and they're like, "Oh, we sent you an email and whatnot." And the first thing you say to them is, "Did you put an E in the whiskey?" Yes. Don't. It's. I mean, yeah, it's still happening.
Inverary whiskey shop is what we get also instead of Inverary whiskey shop.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that you can't really misspell rum, can you? It's 3.
No, you can't. That.
You can put an H. Is it RHUM is one way of spelling it.
That's the French way of spelling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a little bit different.
Yeah, we get a lot of phone calls through the week. Hello, is that the Inverary whiskey shop? It's the Inverary whiskey shop. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. You're like, I'm not sure if it is. I guess you get the same. Actually, that's a guest that we can phone up, Kat, for one of our blethers in the future. We'll find out the owners of the Inverary whiskey shop, and we'll have a chat with them.
It'd be good to know if they have the same problem as us, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think they have the same issue.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm just going to confuse you guys. I think you are the only rum people on Islay, so I think you're all right.
There is rum and Jura as well, Rosie. Is there a rum and Jura?
In Jura, there's the guys over in Jura are currently doing a spiced rum. So as far as I'm aware, they kind of buy in some spirit and then they macerate the spices and things themselves. I think they actually do it in a cask. They use a cask to kind of macerate the spices with the spirit. But as far as I'm sure they are in the process of setting a still up, so to get their own distillation underway. I'm not sure how far with that yet, but hopefully they get it up and running. Get a good
Deer Island.
Deer Island, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. Aptly named, I suppose, for Jura.
Aye. Yeah, I'm not sure they would have got away with Jura Distillery.
I think somebody's got that already.
Maybe not.
We've got Kim King. How did the Feis Open Day go? We'd kind of brushed on that, touched on that already, Kim. But Ben, do you want to just tell Kim how it went for you guys?
Yeah, of course. It was a fantastic day. We had people there, kind of in and out all day. All the staff were amazing. Some really good hard guys. Over a few people from we had and then a couple of extras, so locals who can help out as well. So it was a really good turnout of the day. People in through the door and cocktails made. It was good. We were open until a bit later as well, till 8 o'clock, which was more time.
Good stuff.
So what's a good rum cocktail then?
So our kind of one of our specialties we were doing for the Feis was a punch recipe that I'd kind of made up, and in there was orange juice, pineapple juice, lime juice, grenadine, which is like a pomegranate syrup, orgeat, which is an almond syrup, and then we had black tea in there as well. So that was kind of shaken over ice in the head. So that was our favourite. We also had classics like mojitos with the Islay Stormy, which is just a kind of classic take on the rum ginger beer. With the new spice rum really went well with the ginger beer and the spice rum worked well together. So we had a couple of the daiquiris and a long Saturn as well we were doing, which is typically a gin tiki drink, but it worked really well with rum too. So we had quite a few on the go, but the punch was probably a winner, I think.
Sounds good. I think Michael's favourite was the Stormy, apparently. He said
Good.
it's nice having a bar next to the house. You should do it more often. So there you go. You'd have a regular customer get it set up. We'll get a staff trip over we'll stay at yours, Michael, and we'll head over to the bar the next day. That sounds good. We'll get that sorted. You can come too, Mike. We'll make it a joint venture.
I heard the bar was just for Michael's birthday, rather it was nothing to do with fish. That was just
maybe that's
you weren't going to tell anyone that, but you're right. It was just for him.
Just for him. He has reached that level of grandeur, though, hasn't he?
Oh, brilliant. Guys, we still have a few guys watching. Do we have any other questions for Ben? We forgot to ask you, Ben. What have you got in your glass? I seen you sipping away at a mug. Is that coffee or is that your own rum? Or what have you got in there?
Yeah, kind of. We're still open for the next couple of days, so I'm just keeping it light and cup of tea, and then an early night. I think we're back on the go tomorrow, and then Saturday as well. So we've done a fair stint of days. Been working since last Saturday or something like that. So yeah, nothing too exciting tonight.
It's a lot to get ready for.
Apart from the Blether, obviously, that must have been very exciting for you.
I know, we're so grateful you could make time in between that and just come and chat to us, because you must have been just rushed off your feet getting all that ready for all these folk coming.
That's all right, no problem at all. It's always good to kind of have a chat and tell people about what we're doing. So I appreciate you having us on.
It's been great, Ben. Thank you very much. And as Kat says, it's thank you so much for giving up your time through such a busy part of your kind of calendar. It's been outstanding. Let us know when you are getting the wholesale and retail market out with yourselves. We'd love to join and support the journey and get you on our shelves at Inverurie. Not Inverary, Inverurie. Make sure that everyone knows that. But yeah, go off and enjoy what's left of the sun. It looks like it's still beating down on you in the background there. So thanks very much again for joining us. Guys at home, thank you so much for your questions. Dominic, as always, for your wonderful insights into your new crazy ideas. It's always been great. Whether you've been watching on Facebook or YouTube, give these guys a follow at Islay Rum. It's just Islay Rum, isn't it?
Yeah,
if you're on Instagram or whatever, so make sure you give them a follow and watching on the journey and look out for them in a shop near you. It'll be great to see what you've got coming up, especially the aged stuff, the cask matured rum. Really looking forward to that.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely. Exciting times. We'll get you back on again when you've got some more stories for us.
And we'll invite the Ling chat too.
What's that?
We'll invite them along to the Ling chat as well.
Yes, exactly. When we do the Ling Blether, we'll have you as our guest appearance. We'll do like a sort of big reveal of you on island live, discovering your own.
Maybe.
Thank you very much.
Right, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ben. We'll let you get going. And yeah, once again, just thank you so much for giving up your time. Kat, before you head off, who's on next week? Who's the
next week we have got Dougal from Douglas Lang, or Douglas Lane, however you pronounce it. I think it's Douglas Lane we're meant to pronounce it. So he is the brand ambassador for Douglas Lane. Yep, that's who we've got on next week.
Next week. See, Dominic, you were too busy typing to listen. Just announced.
Dougal from Douglas Lane is who we've got on next week.
And you know fine that I'm going to be calling him Douglas all night.
I know. I think he's
Dougal Lang.
I think his Instagram is Dougal Lane. I think. So I know. Yeah, we're going to get kerfuffled, but yeah, it should be good to catch up to him. He's over on Islay just now, or he was doing the independent bottlers.
Oh yeah, they had their open day, didn't they? The indie
yeah. So he was over there.
Douglas Lang, one of the largest and best known independent bottlers, not just in the UK, I suppose worldwide. They're massive. So it'd be great to get an insight into them and yeah, what they're all about, because they've got the blended malts, the remarkable malts, and then a couple of levels of different independent bottlers, from single casks to battings to all sorts of wonderful stuff. And now distilleries, the distillings very soon as well. So
yeah,
that's going to be great fun to have a chat next week.
Lots of
Absolutely. So guys, we're going to say good night from myself and Kat. Good night on behalf of Ben, and thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And if we don't see you in the shop, hopefully we'll see you online sometime very soon. I'm not sure what we could say. We'll just say slange. I'm not sure what the rum alternative to slange is.
Have to be something piratey, like R.
R.
Something like R.
Yeah, we'll go with that. R.
R. Night, everyone.
Guys.